Alright guys, welcome back to another Minecraft video. In this video today we're going to go over every single cape in Minecraft, give you some history and my opinions on them, and we're going to put them on a tier list as you can see behind me. Now this is a part 1 of 2 videos I plan to make about capes, so stay tuned for the second video where I talk about the cancelled veteran cape idea and the fan-made design shared by Sprintermax. Okay, but with that being said, I've put an item representing every single cape in these chests here. They're in rough order of what the Minecraft wiki lists them as, and they're going to go on the board here, so you get a visual idea of which one's which when it's all said and done. Anyways, the first cape on the list is fittingly the first ever cape made, back when it was called a cloak, that being the Mojang Classic Cape. So this cape was given to Mojang employees and was used from the 20th of December 2010 to the 7th of October 2015. According to NameMC, only 17 people own this cape. So I personally really like this cape. I know a lot of people tend to think it's quite bland and boring, which it kind of is. It's it's a little bit bland, but I think it's a classic. It holds a lot of nostalgia, and it's a great baseline cape to compare all the others off, I think. And I really like the Elytra design they came up with too. It's quite unique and interesting, despite the fact that the cape itself is quite basic in its design. So yeah, I reckon it's an A tier cape personally. So I'm gonna put that up here, which I have a little symbol there. And yeah, that's our Mojang Classic Cape, and I think it's an A tier cape. So something to keep in mind moving forward is NameMC says that only 17 people own this cape, but it has been documented that Notch does in fact own this cape, but it doesn't show up on NameMC for him, so I assume he's hidden it or something like that, meaning that at least 18 people probably own this cape. So yeah, that's probably going to be a similar case for some other capes down the line, but yeah, it doesn't matter too much, I feel like. It's just a rough estimate. So the next cape on the list is the Mojang Cape, given to Mojang employees from the 7th of October 2015 to the 25th of July 2021. Now 194 people own this cape, and it's a very similar design to the Classic Cape, with a few key differences. So firstly, the color scheme, of course, the red and the white, exchanged for the light brown and the yellow. This is to more accurately reflect the color scheme of the Mojang Studios colors. There's an extra notch at the top of the cape, as you can see. This is to fall in line a bit more with the Minecon Capes, I believe. As you'll see later, they all share this kind of notch at the top. And the Elytra is slightly different too, so it has these unfinished circles over them that aren't quite filled in, unlike the last one, which had them completely filled in. So I like this cape for its color scheme, and its design is not bad, but I think due to the nostalgia of the original, this one falls short for me as a more mid-range cape. So I think it's going to be our C tier cape right here. So we've got the Mojang, and then we've got the Mojang Classic. That's sort of my feelings towards them. But we have one more Mojang cape to look at, that being the Mojang Studios cape. This has been used since the 25th of July 2021, and is still being used to this day. Only 76 people have this cape. Now this one is very different from the previous two, and it's based on the Mojangs that make up the Mojang Studio logo. Now personally, this is my least favorite of the Mojang capes, only because it's kind of vague. I guess it's kind of new as well, so not very used to it. And the vague design doesn't really do it much justice, even though Elytra is kind of like what's going on. It looks like there's kind of words, but can't really quite make it out is all. So yeah, not the biggest fan of this one. I think it's cool, but yeah, it's not my favorite. So I think it's underneath the old Mojang one, being in D tier. So yeah, but that is just my opinion. So let me know in the comments which one of these three is your favorite of the Mojang capes. Okay, but now on to the Minecon Capes. There are 5 Minecon Capes in total, given out to people who attended the live events held between 2011 and 2016. The first of these was given out in 2011 and was registered via username of attendees. Only 3,480 people have this cape. Now the cape itself is no doubt an S tier cape. It's gritty, it stands out with the bold red, it includes the creeper on it being Minecraft's mascot, and it just makes for a very unique cape. Now, I do think the Elytra leaves a little bit to be desired. I think what they should have done was more like what they did with the 2015 and 2016 capes, which we'll see later, where the creeper's face would have been cut in half, each half being on either side of the wing, so that when they join, it makes one big creeper face rather than two small ones like they have on this cape. But still, no doubt, an S tier cape, very unique, very cool, and I think it deserves that S tier spot. L's. But now moving on to the Minecon 2012 cape. This was redeemable via an email link registered to attendees. Only 3,977 people own this cape, and I think it's another great one. The blue really stands out, which is nice, just like the red. It's very vibrant and very eye-catching. Now, I wouldn't say it's as good as the 2011 cape. I think the gold pickaxe was an interesting choice that, while this is still a classic cape, I think made it not as cool for me. But I will say that the Elytra pattern does work a lot better with this style. The two split pickaxes obviously makes a lot more sense than one being conjoined, like I would have wanted with the 2011 variant. But for me, this is a B tier cape. But moving on quickly, we now have the 2013 Minecon Cape. This cape was registered in a similar way to the 2012 cape, and 6,097 people own this cape. Now, I love this cape. I think the green is a fantastic shade, drifting away from the super vibrant of the previous two, but still standing out so well. It has an extended piston on it due to the significance of the redstone update that year. Now, I think they really hit the nail on the head with the Elytra design. I think having the piston faces split up like that looks really good, and it works really well with this cape. So, yeah, in my opinion, this is another S tier cape. I think I really like this cape. Now, there was no Minecon in 2014, but in 2015, the cape was redeemable the same way as the previous years. However, attendees had to scan their tickets upon entering. 6,725 people own this cape. And I really like the design of this cape. It's very different to the previous years, and it stands out pretty well. Originally, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I felt like the Iron Golem kind of took up a huge portion of the cape. Kind of looked a bit weird. But I do think it is still my least favorite of the Minecon capes, personally. They also did a great job with the Elytra, so this is what I was kind of talking about with the 2011 cape, how they've got the Iron Golem's head that kind of splits into two, like that. I think that looks better, personally, than the way they did it for the 2011 cape. But yeah, overall I think it's a C tier cape for me, but I do think it's better than this Mojang one, so I'm going to put it like that. I'm going to kind of order them maybe a little bit as we go. But finally, we get to the last Minecon Cape, which was the 2016 Minecon Cape, redeemable similar to the previous years, and is owned by 7,278 people. Now, this cape has a great design. I think it is probably the most epic of the Minecon capes for sure, and it's kind of the simplicity that makes it stand out, with the Enderman eyes basically telling you everything you need to know about this cape. Now, the Elytra is possibly the coolest of all of the Minecon capes, I reckon, where the shadow of the overlapping sections looks like a mouth of an angry Enderman. I think that looks great, and the eyes just look menacing, they look angry. It looks really good, but for me, the sentiment isn't quite there, so I think it's an A tier cape for sure for design, but yeah, it stops from being S because sentiment reasons, but yeah, very cool cape for sure. But anyway, that is all of the Minecon capes done now, so let me know in the comments which one your favorite is, and if you own one even, that would be very cool to know. But yeah, now we're going to move on to some more of the individual capes given out. So yeah, now we're moving on to personal capes owned by one player in their lifetime. This first one is a sad story of the bacon cape, which was given as a gift by Notch to Mick Lee as a thanks for his idea for the Pigman. The cape was later removed from his account, however, once other players began pestering Notch for their own capes. Personally, I think Mick Lee deserves his cape back. I think Notch gave it to him as a gift. I think it should be given back to him, regardless of how many people complain that they don't have their own cape. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be given back to him anytime soon. But anyway, on to design. I think it's kind of cool. It's supposed to be a bacon texture, although it doesn't match the bacon texture that was present in the day when this was created. I think the top of the cape looks pretty good, but the bottom actually looks better, with the border basically kind of, framing it a lot better in my opinion. But the elytra texture actually fits the bacon texture a lot better than the cape itself. So yeah, it's kind of a confusing cape. I don't know what the decisions were made when it was actually designed. But yeah, overall I think the story is better than the cape itself. So I think it's a D tier cape. But I do think it's better than this Mojang cape. So yeah. Now moving on to the next personal cape, we have the 1 millionth customer cape, which, as the name suggests, was given to the lucky buyer of the millionth copy of Minecraft, that being Acronman1. This cape is really strange. I kind of like it, but I also kind of don't at the same time. I think it's a really weird design for such a big deal. 1 million copies of the game sold. Like it's a kind of a big deal, and I feel the same about its elytra too. It's I think it looks a little better with its border, the bright yellow border, but the purple with the kind of weird stars, I don't really know. It's a strange cape. It's a strange cape, and it's very elusive. I think it's been like the account's been hacked a lot or whatever. So yeah, I'm not even sure if Acronman1 still has his cape, but yeah, for me it's a D tier cape. I think it's a bit of a sad, strange cape. I think it's even worse than the Mojang cape, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of this cape personally. This next cape was given to Danny B Style because Notch liked his music. It's a really bland and random cape to me. I feel like it was made with no real thought. There's this random little extra pixel on the bottom, like this yellow pixel. Like what is that? I don't understand. And the elytra really leaves a bit to be desired too. Like it's even somehow even more bland than the cape design itself. It's kind of random. But yeah, I feel like there's not really much to say about this cape. It's pretty bland, it's pretty boring. I feel like it was made in like 2 seconds without much thought. So yeah, for me, so far, it's the only E tier cape from the ones we've looked at so far. So yeah. But hey, if this was my unique cape, I would not complain. I'd take a unique cape like this any day. Mojang. So this next cape is another top tier cape for me. That being Julian Clark's cape with the snowman on it. So this was given to Julian Clark by Notch after he brought TV presenter and actor Ray Cokes to him. This stemmed from a splash that read "Bring me Ray Cokes" on the title screen of the game. And I think this cape looks so good. The underside's kind of got nothing going on, but the top has this cute little snowman who looks kind of confused. He's got his arms up like, confused or whatever. And speaking of the snowman, Notch outright stated that the snowman was supposed to be a reference to cocaine, which I assume is a play on the last name of Ray Cokes, being Coke. So yeah, the elytra is a little bit messy. I think the fused heads of the snowman at the top is kind of silly. I don't know why they chose to have it like this, but yeah, I think the cape itself is a top tier cape. Some people think it's bland because the color of the background is just flat, but I think it's great. I think that the snowman is great. Absolute W's cape. Definitely an A tier cape. I'd even put it above the Minecon 2016 cape personally. In fact, I might even put it above the Mojang cape actually. I think that's my real order. Yeah, I think that's my real order. Okay, but moving on once again, we have Cheap Shot's cape. Now, this is actually a variant of another cape, which is the Translator Cape, which there are 3 variants of. So there's the Chinese one, the regular Translator Cape, and then Cheap Shot's Cape, which is the only Japanese one, which is identified by the Japanese flag on the bottom of the cape. So Cheap Shot got this cape because he was the sole person to help translate Minecraft into Japanese. So he got his own special cape. I actually quite like the design of the Translator Cape. I think it's quite unique. It almost looks like a tablet or a book or some kind. The elytra is kind of less interesting in my opinion. And what's interesting about this cape is that you can't actually see the Japanese flag on the elytra. There's no Japanese flag added to the elytra. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a scam. But yeah, I think it's still a nice cape. I'd say it's a C tier cape. And I would argue it's better than the Mojang cape, in my opinion. So, next up, we have another outstanding and definitely very well-deserved cape, and that is Mr. Messiah's cape, given to him for designing the Better Lights mod that is responsible for the smooth lighting in the game to this day. The cape was originally discussed as a gift for him in 2011, but wasn't actually given to him until 2015. Now, I think this is a fantastic cape. I think it's a very unique design. It's eye-catching. It's very clearly unique to Mr. Messiah. It's, you know, it's a little detailed on the bottom. It's more like the Minecon Capes on the bottom, but the top is obviously very clearly like a player card. It's really cool. And the Elytra is really cool too. I like the way that it's, even though it's trying to show the sort of spade of the card, it still works when it's closed together. I think it's really nice. It's a really nice green. I think it works really well. So yeah, for that reason, I think it's definitely the strongest A tier for sure. Very narrowly an S tier, I would say. I think it just doesn't have that nostalgia factor, I think. But it is a really cool cape, in my opinion. Really cool cape. So, next up, we have the Prismarine cape, which was given to Drolkus by Jeb for recreating the Prismarine texture in his chiseled mod, rather than modifying the original texture. I really like this cape. I think it's a simple design, but it's elegant. I mean, you can clearly see what it's based on. So this back portion is based on this block here. If we go underneath, you can see that it's the dark Prismarine there, and then eventually the Elytra was added, which replicates this last block on the end here, and I think it's really great. It really covers all three of the Prismarine designs. I really like this cape. I think it's underrated, personally. I think people don't like this cape as much, but I think especially when it's on, it looks really good. I really like it. Personally, I think it's another A tier cape. I think it's just under Mr. Messiah. But I think I really like it. It's a really clean cut design, and I think this would be a great cape to have. So yeah. So moving on now, we have the birthday cape. This was given to a Mojang employee, Gur8 Bizzo, I think is the name. Presumably for their birthday, I guess. However, no reason is actually confirmed as to why they got this cape. There's a star on the bottom. It's you know, a little bit interesting. It's kind of similar to the 1 millionth star. And then yeah, a cake with some balloons hanging off it. I think it's a pretty unique cape design for sure. It's a pretty nice one. It kind of stands out. The blue is quite nice. But the Elytra texture is so bad. Like I get that it's like 4 balloons. But I don't know, it's really boring and lame. Like, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's not that interesting. But yeah, I don't really have any connection to this cape. I feel like you never hear about it that much. So yeah, for that reason, I think it's going to be a C tier cape. I think it's probably even under Mojang, possibly. I think it's probably one of the worst C tier capes, in my opinion. And finally, the last cape we have in this category is the Valentine cape, which is a pretty recent cape addition to the game. It was given to LolFoxy2 by a Mojang employee who didn't quite realize the rarity of capes in Minecraft, especially unique ones, and it was later removed from that account. Now, this is another cape I actually really like. I like that there's a unique kind of texture on the bottom, the dandelion and the heart on top. Like it's really nice, and we don't really have any pink capes up until this point, so it kind of stands out really well on its own as a very unique cape. And even the Elytra, they nailed it, I think. Like, with the green border around it, really shows off. Like, it's a big contrast between the green and the pink, but they work so well together, I think. So, yeah, and I don't mind the fact that the heart and the dandelion are kind of like, the daisy, is it a daisy? I don't know. They're like kind of split, so I don't mind that. I think it looks good, and the checkered kind of background, yeah, I think it's overall a very good cape. I think it's probably in the B tier of capes, I think. I'm gonna put it behind the Minecon 2012 cape. Actually, I'm gonna say it's better than 2012 Minecon. That's right, you heard it here first. Better than 2012 Minecon, in my opinion. So, those are all of the capes that have had only one single owner in their lifetime. Let me know what your favorite one is in the comments below. But now we're going to move on to capes that have been given out for various reasons that are owned by 2 or more players. And we're going to start with the next 2 translator capes. So, the first one is the regular translator cape. As you can see, it has a T on the bottom, unlike Cheap Shots, which had the Japanese flag. And this one is very similar. It's exactly the same design apart from that T, which obviously stands for the translator title. Only 92 people own this cape. And the other of these translator capes is the Chinese cape, which you can see on the bottom has the Chinese flag. Very interesting, but other than that, it's exactly the same. Only 3 people own this cape. makes it a bit more rare than the regular translator cape. But yeah, I have very similar opinions on these ones as I do with the Cheap Shots cape. I think that they're all C tier. They're all basically the same cape. But yeah, that's sort of my views on them. And the Elytra works exactly the same. There's no difference between each variant. So next on the list we have the Scrolls Champions cape. This was given to players who earned the weekly first place winners badge 5 times in Mojang's other game Scrolls. Only 9 people own this cape. And I personally have never played Scrolls, so maybe the design is more meaningful than I know. But the design on the front is pretty interesting and a unique color scheme. I feel like it stands out pretty well. It looks kind of like, again, like another book. I mean, maybe it's a scroll, I don't know, with like a picture in the middle, I'm not sure. And the back also has like the S, which I believe is the Scrolls like logo S. So that's pretty fitting. And the Elytra matches everything pretty well. They almost look like a pair of doors, actually, in my opinion, or maybe like a pair of ears. I don't know. They're kind of weird, but they match the color scheme well. And I think they're a unique cape that are pretty cool to have. So yeah, while I think it's a well-made cape, I don't really have any sentiment towards it. So I think it's going to go into C tier, right below the translator cape. Yeah, I like the detail put into it, but yeah, again, no real sentiment towards it. So next up, we have the Majora Moderator Cape. This was given to moderators on the bug tracker, and only 50 people own this cape. I quite like this cape. I think it's a cape that not many people really see. I feel like it's a pretty low-key cape that is kind of obscure, given out for an obscure reason. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I think the yellow really highlights the black of the background, which is really cool. It looks like there's like a flame with like a wick on fire, which is pretty cool, and the bottom even has like some unique kind of detail, which is kind of interesting. And the cape, I think the Elytra is a bit less interesting than the actual cape itself, but it's cool that it has kind of the 2 different wicked flames that are almost being blown to the side, which is quite cool. And the even the background has a bit of detail on it, which is kind of cool. I think that's a nice touch. But I think the cape itself is really nice, and I think it actually earns its spot on the B tier list. I think it kind of fits in there nicely, even pushes Minecon down a little bit, in my personal opinion. I think it's a cool cape that is quite underrated, in my opinion. So next we have a cape that was given out in a very similar way to the Scrolls cape, that being the Cobalt cape. This was given to winners/participants of the level making competitions and Cobalt League tournaments in 2016. Cobalt is another one of Mojang's games. Only 16 people have this cape, and I really like it. I think it's really cool. It's a really clean design. It reminds me of like I don't know, it's almost like an icy cape. It's pretty cool. I'm sure the design probably has more meaning in the meaning of Cobalt. Again, another game I haven't played. And the cool thing about this cape is the wings are super unique. They're like see-through wings, which no other wings really have. They're based on one of the mobs found in the game. It's like a wasp mob or something in the game, and they have the same wings. So I think it's a really interesting idea. It doesn't really match the cape very well at all, but it does match the game, which is really cool. So I think this is actually a really cool cape, a really top tier cape. But I think I'm gonna put it in B tier personally. I think it deserves the top spot in B tier for sure. But yeah, I think it falls short of some of these other ones up here. So next up we have the Realms Mapmaker Cape. This was given to map makers on Java Minecraft Content Creator Program who met certain criteria. 295 people own this cape, and I'm not really the biggest fan of this one. I see what they were kind of going for, like with the background being like Minecraft, and it's kind of like, you know, a blank canvas almost, you know, world. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird cape. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, and the Elytra certainly does not help its case at all. I don't even know what's going on here. I feel like they're like the sun or something flying through the air, but yeah, kind of a boring cape in the end. And I'm not the biggest fan of the color of the blue that they used. So yeah, for me this is another D tier cape, and I think it's actually even below the millionth customer, because I feel like at least that one's kind of stands out in a crazy unique way, whereas this one's just kind of, I don't know, a boring unique way in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, obviously you got this cape for doing something, you know, building a map, and I think that's noteworthy in itself. So yeah. So next up we have another cape with an interesting story, and that is the turtle cape. Now this was given to Billy K _ for a suggestion to add turtles to the game, and he was originally the sole owner of this cape, but eventually a couple of Mojang employees used his cape for some kind of testing, but eventually they were allegedly removed from those accounts, although NameMC doesn't acknowledge this. Now, I really like this cape. I think it's a great cape. I think the red is so vibrant and great contrast to the green of the turtle. I think it's so cool that the underside of the turtle is shown as well. It's like the turtle is laying through the cape, which is really cool. And you can actually, you can see that I prepared some turtles here. So yeah, there's the underside of the turtle and the top side, and you can kind of see that represented here, which is really cool. Now, at first glance, the Elytra might seem a bit bland and boring, but I reckon it's actually not, because it kind of is the same as the turtle shell helmet texture. If you look at it, if I equip it, actually, you can even see it on my head. But it's also the same as the turtle shell itself. So yeah, it's a cool design. I really like this. I really like this cape. I think it's a really great cape. Definitely an A tier cape for sure. But for me, it doesn't even quite beat the Mojang Classic cape in my opinion. I know that's a bit of a weird opinion, but yeah, I think the turtle cape sits about here. Now here we are, we've made it to the last cape of the category, and this cape I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's the Migrator cape. This cape was given to players who bought Minecraft before December 1st, 2020, and migrated their accounts to Microsoft accounts. 3,041,208 people own this cape. And although people love to hate on this cape, I feel like people love to hate on it, being so common and whatever. I think objectively it is a very well designed cape. I really like it. I think it's a cool cape. And of course the Elytra match perfectly. I like that the red isn't just flat, it's actually kind of detailed as well. I'm sure you've all seen this cape and probably even own this cape. I'm going to put it in A tier. Top of A tier, I like wearing it. I think it's a great design. But yeah, that's that category done. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Migrator cape, whether you have one as well. But yeah, now we move on to some of the extra little capes that we have kind of floating around. And the first one of these is the Christmas cape. So this is a Christmas cape that displayed on every single Minecraft account in 2010, way back in 2010, on Christmas Day. So on Christmas Day, everyone had this cape displayed on their account. It's a pretty nice cape. I like the white border, I like the tree on it. There's not much underneath it, but that's okay. Yeah, it's quite cute. It looks almost like a gift-wrapped present, almost, with the little cartoony tree on it. And the Elytra looks pretty good too. It's got like the red and the white, and then the star on top, like kind of representing the top of the tree or whatever. I like it. I think it's a nice cape. I wish these kind of came back every year. I kind of like this kind of idea for a cape is one that comes around every year, kind of like the how they have the chests change around Christmas time. But yeah, in terms of where I want this on the board, I think it's a B tier cape. I think it's probably end of B tier. I think it's a B tier cape. It's a pretty cool cape, but yeah, you never really see it ever, and it's no one really owns it. It's just a exclusive to that 1 year's Christmas Day. So yeah. And in a similar vein, in 2011 on New Year's Eve, everyone had this cape displayed on their account. It's a really nice cape. I think it's a pretty cool one. It's got like a gold border. It's very similar to the Christmas tree in terms of design, but yeah, obviously the colors are different. And instead of having a tree, this one has like almost like a I don't know, like a pinkish sky, like starry sky or something. Maybe it's meant to be fireworks, I'm not sure. With a subtle like 11 representing the year on the bottom of the cape. And underneath it's there's not much going on. And I really like the wings too. Like these really match it well, I think. They really nailed the design with these ones. I think it's a really cool design. It's a shame that it only was ever worn, by all the players that were on New Year's Eve that 1 year. I think it's a really cool cape. Definitely should come back another year, although I guess it doesn't really make sense with the 11 on the back. So yeah. But anyway, thought it was a really cool cape. I'm actually going to put it as a B tier cape as well. I think it's better than these three here and all the rest of these ones down there. I actually really like their design. I really like the purple is the main thing. The purple with the starry sky. I think it's a really cool and unique design. So yeah, I'm going to put it in there. Alright, now we're going to move away from exclusively Java Minecraft capes to actually the most recent Minecraft cape which was added to the game, being the Vanilla Cape, which is this one here. This was given to players who owned both Java and Bedrock Edition for Windows before the 6th of June 2022. 100,566 people own this cape, and I actually quite like this cape. I think it does a great job at connecting the two kind of versions, where like the grass block kind of represents Java in my mind, and then people seem to think that the bottom half of the cape is like Deep Slate, but wouldn't the obvious thing be that it's like Bedrock? I don't know, I kind of thought it was Bedrock. And I think the Elytra looks really good too. It's almost like you're looking down from into a cave in a way, like down to Bedrock. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a little bit of a messy cape, but it has a lot of charm to it. Like it kind of works, which is cool. I like this cape. But in terms of where it should be placed, I actually think it's more of a high-end B tier cape. I actually like it quite a lot more than I realized. Yeah, even more than the Valentine 2011, 2012 Minecon. I actually like it quite a lot. So yeah, I think it's got a nice place at the top end of B tier. All right, now we have two exclusively Bedrock capes. These are only available in Bedrock. The first being this Minecon Live 2019 cape, available at the marketplace as a promotional piece. Now this is basically just the design of the 2011 Minecon cape, but gold, and I think it looks super tacky. I think it looks really, it doesn't work in gold. I don't think it works very well in gold. For me, this is not amazing, and the Elytra looks, yeah, not very great in my opinion. I think this is an E tier cape for sure. It's definitely worse than Denny B Styles in my opinion. Yeah, not an amazing cape, not a big fan of this one. Yeah. And the second Bedrock exclusive cape is the Pancake Cape. Yep. Yeah, this one is pretty interesting design. So this one is given to every single Bedrock player. No matter what, you have this cape if you have Bedrock. It's a nice design. It's got the stack of pancakes on a plate with the butter and the syrup. I think it looks quite nice. Underneath is, yep, just a bit bland. And then the cape itself, like the Elytra, is actually very interesting. It's a lot more like a stack of pancakes. It actually changes the shape of the Elytra quite a lot. Has these bits dripping off it, a bit thicker at the sides and, you know, a bit less on the top. They're more like reminiscent of pancakes, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that from them. So yeah, I do think it's quite a unique cape, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I have no real connection to it. I don't really play Bedrock that much at all. So yeah, I think it's going to go sort of back end of D tier, but probably not there. I'm going to say it's better than the millionth Custer one, better than this Mojang one. I'd say it's about here. I'd say it lives about there on D tier. Top end of D tier in my opinion. So that is every single obtainable and previously obtainable cape in Minecraft. Although I do have 3 more bonus designs to show off, being the other Minecon 2011 designs. Some of you may not have known this, but the 2011 and 2012 Minecon capes were actually voted on out of 5 possible designs. And these are the 3 unused designs. They're each very unique and clearly represent different aspects of Minecraft, which I think is kind of cool. And they each have their own like little Elytra designs, which is neat. But that is the end of the video. Let me know what your favorite cape in Minecraft is. Let me know what you think of my my tier list. Whether I mess some things up or not, in your opinion, let me know down below. If you like the video, please subscribe. It means a lot. As I mentioned, I'm making a part 2 to this video, focusing on the veteran cape idea and the fan art made for them. If you want to use any of these capes for yourself, while you probably can't get them legitimately, I will leave a link in the description to the mod I used to display myself with the capes. And while others can't see you wearing the cape, unless they're using the mod, you'll be able to see yourself wearing the cape. So, yeah, that's up to you. But yeah, link will be in the description. But, yeah, other than that, that's everything I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters!